Metro on WDET Detroit Public Radio. I'm Robyn Vincent. Across Metro Detroit, some leaders' stances against ICE have gotten firmer. We just heard about the Detroit police chief not allowing his officers to work with ICE. Last week, we spoke with the Sterling Heights mayor about his thoughts.
What I see from videos and reports throughout the country is that when federal agents are in cities operating, performing tactical operations to try to find undocumented immigrants, it's putting the entire public at risk of harm. ICE agents are violating human rights, constitutional rights, civil rights. They are running roughshod over cities. They're terrorizing on cities, and they're taking calm, peaceful areas and turning them into what seem like war zones.
Sterling Heights Mayor Michael Taylor there. Now, in Southfield, federal and state lawmakers are trying to stop ICE from opening an administrative office. Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDonald, who is running to be Michigan's Attorney General, has expressed concerns about ICE enforcement and the presence of ICE agents in her jurisdiction. To better understand her perspective, we have the prosecutor with us. Prosecutor Karen McDonald, welcome to the Metro.
Good morning.
And just a note, the Metro contacted U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. They did not get back to us with a comment in time for this conversation. Prosecutor McDonald, you've said that you will investigate and prosecute federal immigration officers if they violate the law. Are you concerned about ICE officers breaking the law in Oakland County?
You know, what once was never going to be and shouldn't be a controversial statement is become one, which is, sitting here right now, the fact that we have federal agents and members of law enforcement entering our state, and that is causing fear and chaos is alarming to me. As the top law enforcement official in Oakland County, my job is to ensure public safety for everyone. If someone violates the law in this county, they will be investigated, and we will review that case for charges, just like we do in every single case. And some of those cases involve law enforcement. We do that as part of our job, and we'll continue to do that.
Fear and chaos are the words that you're using right now to describe federal immigration enforcement and the agents who are laying out that enforcement. Do you know of any ICE officers in Oakland County that have violated the law already?
No, those cases have not been presented to me, and those decisions and conclusions would be after a formal presentation. But what I do know and hear from so many people, both in my capacity as prosecutor and just being a resident of the county and a mom, is that people are very concerned that they or somebody in their family will be subjected to an unlawful search, an unlawful detention because of the way that they look. And this is the United States of America. That is something that both shocks me and saddens me as a lawyer, as a former judge, and as a prosecutor, and as a mom. We can't have people afraid to drive to the store. We can't have parents afraid to drop their children off at school, despite their legal status, because they fear that what they've seen on television might happen to them or somebody in their family.
Prosecutor McDonald, if I may jump in, one of your other former roles is as a teacher. Is that right?
It is.
I wonder for you and the work that you did as an educator, how this lands, because we know that federal immigration enforcement agents are not abiding by previous rules, that schools were sensitive spaces. Talk to me about that and your experience as an educator and how that's landed with you.
In this country and in this state and in this county, schools have been historically, and I believe need to be, a safe place for kids. As a teacher, my job then, and what I want for every kid is that when they walk in the classroom, they're not hungry, they're not afraid, and they're not worried that they might not see their parents again. And that is always going to be my priority. These are children. they didn't choose to be in this situation. Many of the people who are being detained and searched are have legal status. And I want to remind everybody that we are entitled to a lawful arrest regardless of your immigration status. And that protects all of us, right? This isn't a situation where we only think this is okay if somebody violated the law. That isn't the way our Constitution works. But in terms of kids, I also was a family court judge, and I had children that we had jurisdiction over in abuse and neglect cases or juvenile cases or family matters, and their parents were not legal. They didn't have legal status, or they were in the process of obtaining it. And that wasn't my concern. My concern was, are they safe? Do they have food? Do they have shelter? At a time right now when people can't really afford health insurance, and they're very concerned about buying groceries. Now we've added an extra stress of somebody worried that if they are just taking care of their children's basic needs, they could be unlawfully searched and detained. And for a lot of people, that's terrifying. But on a practical level, we have people that need to work. We have people that need to get their kids to school, and being stopped and unlawfully searched by somebody that is not. It does not have any identifying feature as a law enforcement official. That really concerns me. And we work with law enforcement agencies all over the county, and we have very good law enforcement agents, and their job is to protect and de-escalate. And what I am seeing on the news, like everyone else, that does not look like what we hold law enforcement, that standard we hold them to. And another thing we're not really talking about enough is the impact this is having on victims of crime and witnesses that we need to prosecute crime. And
they won't come forward. They won't come forward.
That's exactly right.
Prosecutor McDonald, you've said a lot of things here that I would like to unpack. I want to go back to one of them, though. The fact that even people who are going through the proper channels are being detained and sometimes deported. And for you, someone who describes herself as a person of the law, I'm wondering if you are aware of that happening in Oakland County. I'm wondering how aware you are of these cases, because we've certainly talked to family members of people who were going through those proper channels who are now being detained at the North Lakes Processing Center in Baldwin, Michigan.
Mm-hmm. Look, that's a challenge. It's absolutely a challenge. I know that the Attorney General, Dana Nessel, right now has opened a portal so people can report these things. I think what's even more problematic is, we have people being detained unlawfully, or perhaps unlawfully, and law enforcement is where that's usually reported, and people, that has a chilling effect, right? So the best that we can do at the moment is provide that information in the portal through the Michigan Attorney General, and, bring that to your law enforcement. Again, in Oakland County, law enforcement agencies, their top priority is to keep people safe.
Can you tell me in Oakland County what the sheriff's policy is when it comes to working with ICE? We were not able to get that information, and I know folks are curious about that.
I've been in an elected role in a long time in leadership. And one thing I've learned is that I'm not going to speak for somebody else. And the sheriff's been doing this a long time. So that's a question for the sheriff. But I do know that we are in regular
work closely.
contact.
Yes, you do work closely with police.
We do. And part of my job and what I've done is, in working with chiefs of police all over the county, they have questions. What is legally acceptable and what is not. Now when I talk to people, I always have to add the caveat. However, we are seeing instances where ICE agents are blatantly violating what we have all held up as the law and our protections as citizens. But that's why I'm here. And that's why I'm taking the time to do the interview, because that still matters to me. The Constitution still matters to me, and every single assistant prosecutor in my office. That is our guiding light, and we will always uphold it and hold anyone accountable, regardless of who you are.
It's the Metro on WDET. I'm Robyn Vincent. My guest is Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDonald. We're discussing her concerns about ICE activity in Oakland County. The Trump administration has given ICE officers a lot of authority, seemingly to act even above the law. This is something that you have been discussing, Prosecutor McDonald. Here's White House Deputy Chief of Staff and Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller describing what ICE officers are empowered to do.
To all ICE officers, you have federal immunity in the conduct of your duties. And anybody who lays a hand on you or tries to stop you or tries to obstruct you is committing a felony. You have immunity to perform your duties, and no one, no city official, no state official, no illegal alien, no leftist agitator or domestic insurrectionist can prevent you from fulfilling your legal obligations and duties.
Homeland Security Advisor Stephen Miller repeating those words multiple times: federal immunity, federal immunity. Prosecutor McDonald, if an ICE agent breaks the law, what does prosecuting them look like? I mean, it sounds like that is uncharted territory. And up at the top, we're hearing that these agents have immunity.
It's a misleading statement, if not blatantly just false. What concerns me most is the intent. And the intent of that statement is to threaten and scare and frighten people in this country from law enforcement, and essentially signal that we no longer have the constitutional protections that we have all embraced and enjoyed.
Forgive me for jumping in. So they do not have federal immunity?
There absolutely is immunity applied in certain positions and in law enforcement. But that is not a blank check or a free pass to do whatever they want to do. They also have guardrails, and it's called the Constitution. Now, look, I will always stand for you have to abide by law enforcement and what they tell you to do. We need that. And we charge cases like that all the time because we have to listen to law enforcement. It keeps us all safe. But that is not the same as saying that whatever somebody in ICE does and whatever tactic they use, they have standards of force that are regularly accepted and applied. In my job now, whenever there's an officer-related shooting or even injury, we have a protocol after an independent investigation is done by
Prosecutor
an agency.
McDonald, again, I'm sorry to jump in only because we're running out of time. I find that to be a little confusing to use the term officer-related shooting. Do you mean when we have a police officer killing someone or shooting someone?
Anytime there's an injury or a shooting involved with a law enforcement in the course of their duties, we follow a protocol. There is a higher standard you have to meet to charge a crime, but it happens every single day in this country. And convictions are secured every single day in this country from law enforcement that have crossed the threshold where they no longer have immunity, and those actions are indeed a crime. So the statement and the quote that you just played is misleading and wrong, and it's just meant to threaten and scare people into, and think that they don't have their constitutional rights. And that is just not true. And I will always fight against that because that is not what the Constitution says.
Prosecutor McDonald, one reason we're speaking today is because a lot of people are up in arms about ICE having an administrative office in Southfield. So I do want to end on that note. Do you think that it should have that office in Southfield?
I don't think the question is whether they should have an office. I think the question and the point and the observation to continue to make is the stated comments from federal officials that they want to threaten our voting process using ICE agents. That concerns me the most. Voter intimidation is a crime, and we will investigate it and hold people accountable. And so the presence of ICE now, because it has turned into this, force of threat and chaos and seemingly trying to create this impression they're above the law, is only meant to make people afraid. And I'm very concerned it will have a chilling effect at the ballot.
Oakland County Prosecutor Karen McDonald, thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you.
We'll be right back here on the Metro on WDET. Stay with us.